The morning after the battle on the bridge against the Brotherhood, the families of anti-Morsi protesters came to the city morgue to claim the bodies of those killed. 32 people had been killed in political violence across Egypt that day.
اعرفه ده اخويا اكتر من اخويا طلع عنده 33 سنه مع الناس واكتر واحد كويس والحمد لله كان بيصلي ومحترم ما بيزعلش حد منه عمره ما جه على حد الاخوان داخلين المانيال طلعنا وقفنا لهم بره ده عمالين يضربوا علينا بطوب ومولوتوف بعد كده دخلوا في الخرطوش بعد كده قوالي وبينشنوا فينا انا جسمي واخد من الخرطوش اهو في صدري اهو وفي دراعي وفي رجلي جات الساعه 3
حرام عليك الشباب اللي بتروح حرام عليك منك لله من كل اللي حسبي الله ونعم الوكيل
بينشنوا فاتحين الليزر الاخضر موسعينه على وش اي شخص قدامهم بينشنوا على عروض الكفره.
The battle for the presidency was tearing Egypt apart. Now both sides had martyrs to bury and revenge to seek. This wasn't just a squabble between politicians anymore, but the beginning of a conflict between civilian militias. This cycle of violence began when the anti-Morsi Tamarod, or rebel movement, urged the army to overthrow Morsi. RABAA is an activist for army-appointed Vice President Mohammed El Baradei's Dostor party. He took me to Tahrir Square to explain Tamarod's side of the story.
What actually happened on June 30th? Was that a coup? Was it a revolution?
I think it's a combination between both. It's a revolution because people marched the streets in huge numbers. They were calling the army to interfere, to get rid of this ruler, and the army responded. That wasn't their initiative, it was the people's initiative. A coup, it comes only from the army, maybe against the will of the people themselves. But now the people, more than 30 million, marched the streets asking the army to interfere and to get rid of Morsi. So I don't think it's a coup. Last year was disastrous for Egyptians. On the economic level, security levels, and everything. So they felt that we can't wait for another 3 years to get rid of him.
You make him sound like a bad president, but not a dictator. Was it worth all coming out in the streets to overthrow him?
I think he didn't get the chance to be a dictator, but he wanted to. Muslim Brotherhood just had only one idea in their heads. That's what I think. If we got our hands on everything, then we can do whatever we want.
But now the Brotherhood are saying, look, we had a democratically elected president and he was forced out.
For myself, I preferred for the army not to interfere. I preferred to wait for 3 years to get rid of him with fair elections. But I'm with the people. People decided to march the streets on June 30th. I'm with them. Something really emerged in the last 2 days that America is with Brotherhood, that CNN is broadcasting from RABAA, and everyone is saying it's a coup. So let's show them that it's not a coup. Let's show them that it's a revolution helped by the army.
General El-Sisi has now appointed himself as Deputy Prime Minister, as well as Defence Minister and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. After a day of mourning, both sides held mass demonstrations across Cairo. But what surprised me most was that it was the pro-army crowd who was so passionately anti-American.
What's the theme of the demonstration today?
It's just to save our revolution and to say to all the world that this is a revolution and not a coup d'etat, because we know that our government is under pressure from USA and from all over the world because the Muslim Brotherhood tried to explain to the world that that's a coup d'etat and it's not a coup d'etat, this is our revolution.
By definition, if an army overthrows an elected government, then it's a coup. But in Egypt, the question's a controversial one, mostly because of America. Legally, the US government is forbidden to send military aid to any country where a coup has taken place. The Egyptian armed forces currently receive $1.3 billion in aid from America every year.
Why is he holding that sign?
He's anti-Obama because he refused all the pressure made by the US president or the US government on our military or our people.
So the people behind us, they're saying down with Obama,
Yes, exactly.
yes got Obama, and we don't want the Americans.
It was too noisy to film in the crowd, so we moved to the edge. An angry mob began to form around us. They thought we were part of an American conspiracy to make their already small demonstration look even smaller.
Why don't you like Obama?
Sorry?
Obama.
He's supporting what we have. Yes.
How does he support them?
By everything. He gives them money. Your money, if you are American, your money, he's paying your money for Muslim Brotherhood. He paying American money for Muslim Brotherhood.
Okay.
And this is what we are. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Where are you from? Which channel?
Britain, Vice.
Which channel?
Vice.
Why? Never heard of it. Okay, there. You
Yeah.
should go there.
We just come from there.
You just came from
Yeah.
there. Perfect. You should know that everyone here hates Morsi, hates Ikhwan, hates any Islam that destroys people.
Tempers are pretty frayed here. People hate Morsi, people hate Obama. They don't particularly like us.
إسرائيل ولا أمريكا؟
أنا بريطانيا. أنا
إنجليزي. إحنا مش عايزين إرهاب. أوباما كل حاجة إحنا عايزين دولة. الإرهاب هو مرسي وعشيرته وناسه والشرعية اللي هو بيدور عليها. الإسلام مليون سنة قاعد عمره ما راح. لكن هو بيقول لك لا انا لما اطلع الاسلام ما فيش، لا الاسلام موجود واحنا مسلم مسيحي ايد واحده وكلنا واحد. احنا اللي بنكرر مصيرنا والسيسي هو اللي بيكرر مصيرنا. مصر حرة، عاشت مصر حرة.
Fuck USA! Fuck USA! Fuck Obama! Fuck USA!
It was coming to the end of our time in Cairo, and I wanted to see whether the Muslim Brotherhood were ready to compromise with the new government.
So how's this going to end? I mean, how are you actually going to get Morsi back in town?
If there is any sincere will to really support democracy and freedom among the leaders of the army, maybe they will bring back themselves the democracy and our president. But if they don't, I think it will be two options. The Minister of Defense will run away anywhere, or someone of his assistants will give him up. It will be a little bit more aggressive and ugly, because when he still stubborn, the army, we will be more stubborn, and when it take more time, it will take more massacres, more difficulties, and so on. So it must be ended so soon, or the blood will be splattered on the streets more and more and more.
A few hours later, at dawn on July the 8th, the army fired into a crowd of pro-Morsi protesters outside the Republican Guard Officers Club. Both sides accuse each other of shooting first. 51 people were killed. International human rights groups have condemned the Egyptian army for the massacre. Two years ago, Egyptians were filled with hope for their new democratic future. But now the country is divided between two opposing sides, willing to fight and die for power. And no one knows how the cycle of violence will end.